Vagy mielőtt egyiket leadjuk. Nekik elég lesz egy, tök közel ülnek, úgyhogy ha lesz kérdés, akkor az egyiket. Csak ide kell. Jó, de szerzek szívesen. How are you? You good?
I'm good.
You want to talk about it, or not?
If you want
It's
to
not
talk
a topic like
about public bath or not, because that's where I was. Sorry, I'm late.
Which one did you go to?
I can't pronounce the name.
All right.
But that's it. And I was in a sauna, and there was like a guy who was dancing with towels while listening to Aladdin songs from Disney.
Sounds amazing.
That was insane. So sorry for being late, but it's going to be in the next movie for sure.
Okay, welcome everyone. We have two filmmakers here. Both their films are in the section called Bloom, and both of these films are debut features. They are very different from each other, and also I would say they don't look like typical debut features. If I was watching them, I wouldn't bet on that these are first films. So we are going to discuss the process of their work, the script, and all the activities that led to eventually the execution and completion of these films. Sven Bresser, how do you say it, please? Okay, Sven Bresser is from the Netherlands, and his film is called Reedland, which premiered earlier this year in Cannes. And, okay, you're going to have to help me with that, Eric.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, but you weren't here on time.
Yeah, I know, sorry. Eric K. Boulianne.
Boulianne.
Boulianne, oui.
K. Boulianne from Canada. And his film is called Follies. It premiered in Locarno and was screened in Toronto and probably many other festivals. It will have a screening today, which you can still catch right after this talk. We're going to finish on time to make sure you can still get to Corvin for Follies.
I will be on time.
Yeah, let's try. We will drag you over there. Yeah. So, when did you start working on this project? What is your personal connection or motivation to this story? Let's start with Eric.
I've started this project not a long time ago. Like, it took about a year and a half process. Like, I started writing the script in March last year. So we wrote it in like 2 months, me and my friend, and then we started the pre-production, and then we started to shoot the film in November. So it's been a year now. So
that's very fast.
That's so fast. And so we did the shoot like before Christmas, like November, December, and then we had some few other days after the Christmas break. So we finished shooting in January. We finished the editing in June, and then we got in Locarno in August. And now I'm here. So it's been a wild ride. But yes, it's rare that you can do this type of project to be like so fast and like free, and but that's what I wanted at the start. So yeah.
Yeah, let's explain a little bit to the audience. Sorry, it's my bad. What the film is like. What kind of project is this? Could you summarize, please, the type of project and the story?
The story, well, it's about you haven't seen the film. It's about a couple that's been together for like 16 years, and they decide to open up their relationship, and they experience sexual experience, and to learn more about themselves, and that's about the pitch of the film.
They have children as well.
They have children as well, so it's complicated to open up the relationship when you have children. It's been a long time, so that's it's comedy, but it also has drama. And it was a film that, like in Canada, it's government funded. The movies are, you go through the government to have funds for the film, which is probably the case here, or I don't know. But for this one, I didn't ask for money to the government because I had some money aside, and then I decided to make the project fast, like, because it can be long to wait to have money for your project. It can take up to... I had project because usually I'm a screenwriter, so I've did a lot of films that I just wrote. And for one of the project, it took 10 years to make, and another one was like 8 years and 5 years. And for this project, I didn't want to wait that long, so it took a year and a half. So I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, Sven, what about you? It's also a very personal... The film is inspired by your very personal experience. You grew up in this area where your film is set, and it's a very specific environment and lifestyle. How was it growing up there, and how did you come to the idea that you are going to make a film about this kind of life?
Actually, I didn't grow up in the place where we shot the film. So I grew up in a small village surrounded by lots of wetlands, reedlands, and the reed harvesting died out there in the early 2000s, and with it also the landscape. If you don't cut the reeds, trees will take over, and nature reserve companies will design a new idea for a landscape like this. So it's a landscape that is very ingrained in my memory, but not existing at this place where I was born. And with this weird feeling, I went on a quest for the same kind of landscape, and I found it in a total different place in the Netherlands, up north, and it's one of the biggest nature reserve areas there. And I found that there were still communities living off the reeds. And from this experiences, some ideas started to grow. I think at first it wasn't like a theoretical idea about the film, about good and evil or these kind of things. It maybe started with a very simple desire to make a film in a very specific place, a constrained place, and have the freedom to wait for the right sun, to wait for the right wind, to have this autonomy way of working that's not evident always when making films. So it maybe started with this practical desire, and then afterwards some ideas started to grow about what kind of film I wanted to make.
Yeah, it's a film with a protagonist who's an older man, who's a father and a grandfather, and works with the reeds. And in the beginning of the story, he finds a dead body on his land, and that's where the whole story unfolds from. And as far as I understand, for you, it was a rather long process through development and pre-production.
Yeah, definitely longer than Eric's. I'm jealous if I hear this kind of things. I love it when people...
But the other film were long. That's the only one that took that.
Okay. But it's good, I think, to also find holes in the system and try to be independent. I think lots of people here in this country also have to find this way now in the state of where the politics are. So it's inspiring to hear this story. But for me, it took a longer time. It was state funded. It had a co-production with Belgium. So these things take time. The script writing phase itself, like sitting behind a laptop and writing, for me is most of the time not such a long time. Like I wrote this kind of a treatment or a script document of 40 pages in 3 or 4 weeks, and 95% of the scenes were in it. But it wasn't amazing yet. But there was almost everything was in it. But arriving at that stage takes for me a long time of thinking, reading, writing small notes. It's a time or a phase that I used to be very frustrated about, but because it's not really rewarding. You don't finish anything. You go back home and you didn't do anything substantial. So it can be quite frustrating. But now I recognize that I that I have to allow myself this time to let things grow and to not too forcibly and fast go to the page and try to make it work. But yeah, give yourself some space. Yeah.
And for this film, the location and the environment is crucial. It's like baseline, as well as finding the main character to play this role. So I suppose that also meant like a long process for you to work with this location and the people there and the different locations within the script and that area.
Yes, definitely. So I went to the place where we shot the film like 3 years off and on, and then I lived there on a permanent basis for 4 months a year prior to shooting. So these periods were important for a lot of things. Like when I lived there on a permanent basis, a year before shooting, the script was already done. It changed a little bit, and it changes mostly. It influences the tone and the rhythm of how I want to capture things and the time I want to take to look at things. But not so much the plot. It's already developed in the years before. But I was visiting this area already then also, yeah.
And given that this project is so strongly inspired by your own growing up personal experiences, how did you come to the decision that the story will be told from an older man's perspective, a grandfather's perspective?
Actually, it's not a very personal story. Like the whole crime story, it's not that personal. I mean, there is when I was 10, there has been found a dead a body of a woman who was raped and murdered just outside of my village. But this thing, to be honest, wasn't like the biggest inspiration to do a film. It helped with some things later in the process. But the rest was just a perspective on this landscape and my memory and the colors and the sounds that I remembered. That was the biggest inspiration. And at this beginning, when I started visiting this new place, this nature reserve area, I started to got to know better the work of Armando. He's a Dutch painter and poet and artist, and all his work is surrounded by a poetic notion of a guilty landscape, where he describes the indifference, nature's indifference for human suffering. And this poetic observation gave me like a new lens to look at this landscape that I knew my whole life.
Yeah, this is among my questions. At a later point, I was going to ask about it, but I did read about this artist that inspired you, this fine artist, and apparently one of the themes was guilty landscape. Would you please elaborate on that, what that means? How can a landscape be guilty?
I think a landscape cannot be guilty, but it's just a human perspective on it. It's just a way to grasp or think about your environment when you cannot relate to it in a conscious way. So he grew up in World War II. He's a post-war. He made all his work post-war, and he grew up in a small village where a lot of people got killed, and he couldn't handle the fact that nature was going on, that the birds were still whispering and the trees were weaving in the wind when all this human suffering happened there. So, of course, a landscape cannot be guilty. It's just his way of dealing with it, yeah.
Yeah. And how did you find your first partners, as in production, financing partners?
Marleen Slot, my producer, I found her a couple of years ago. I made some short films with different producers in Holland, and it wasn't like a bad experience, but I felt I missed some connection and a way of thinking about films and how we should make them, and this autonomy that I was searching for, and told about following this weather and that idea. And I went to her. It's somebody that has a production company totally on her own, so nobody works at her, so she runs it herself. And we had a very good personal click at the first moment, and we tried to, we decided to work together. Then we developed for like a year and a half a script that I wrote that never got made, so we didn't get financing. So this was our first realized film, but it feels like we've been working together for a long time, because I think you get to know each other also very good when you get denied in these stages, and you know, when things are not working out so good. So it feels like we're already collaborating for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, but you have funds from the Netherlands and Belgium, and you have the Dutch broadcaster VPRO on board. So I'm just interested how you persuaded these financiers or partners, and how much did they participate in the process of development and writing?
How we approach them, Marlene is quite experienced in doing this. She has a partner in Belgium, Dries Filippo, a producer that she works with already for a very long time. So it feels like a system that's already there, and I can just be part of their collaboration that they've been doing. And Urimage, yeah, we got lucky that we got the money. We filled in the form, gave the script, the whole plan, and they liked it. And for like the co-production partners, they are not connected to the film very. How do you say in English? The writing process, it's really for myself and the people surrounding me, but it's not so much. They're not really involved in it. I mean, they read it and they have notes, and everything that I think is good and substantial I take and I listen to it, but they're not very connected to this process, no.
Okay, Eric, regarding your film, I have to be honest, I looked at all the partners and logos and everything at the end of your film to understand who participated and who financed, but most of those things, they didn't say so much to us because they're very different Canadian bodies. So can you explain how it became real?
Yeah, but like usually there's in Quebec, it's a province in Canada where I'm from. You have two type of fundings. There's one from the provincial government, so and then there's one from the country, so Canada. So you need to have both to make your film with a decent budget. But for this one, I didn't want to go through that. Like I said before, I have an experience in screenwriting, so I'm doing good as a screenwriter in Quebec. So I was able to put some money aside. So I took that money to finance a good part of the project, and then the production company put their own money also, and we had a art fund. Like they give small amounts to projects, so we asked that, and then the distributor in Canada also chipped in. So we started to shoot the film with about 200,000 Canadian money, which is not bad, but it's not too much also for a feature film. And then when the movie was completed, like when it was shot in the whole, and then we started the editing process, we asked for money to the government and of Canada and to the province. So we had money for the post-production that we used to give back the money we put in the film ourselves. So I didn't make money with the film, but it didn't cost me anything in the end. So I'm just like, kif. So that was like the process. That's the strategy we came up with. And I worked with the producer, Hani Wishu from La Coop Vidéo de Montréal, because they're used to that kind of project where you don't go through the government funds. And I've made a film with him, like the first feature film that I did as a writer with a bunch of friends of mine. It was called Prank. It was like 10 years ago, and we made it with $10,000. So we made this process before 10 years ago. So when I wanted to do the same, I approached him again and said, hey, let's do that again, but at 40-year-olds. So we're kind of more tired, but then we did it. And because I knew he was down for that kind of strategy, and that's what I wanted, because like the process can be so long, like he said. And for that, it's just also a movie that I didn't want to think about too much. Like it was just like a burst of feelings, and it's not that personal, but it comes from a real curiosity about like non-monogamy and just like at some point in my life I was just feeling like everybody around me was in a non-monogamous relationship, which was not the case, but the feeling was there that all of my friends were like having fun and were like, why the fuck am I still in this relationship? And it's monogamous, so there's always a curiosity.
And you had a young kid.
I do have a kid. I have a 7-year-old kid and the co-writer too. So it just came from real curiosity, and we have real respect for that type of model. So we wanted to do a comedy and just explore the model, but by being honest and just like, okay, it's a model that exists and I think it can work for people around me, so why can it work? And ultimately, we wanted to do a film about love, and so we just wanted to put those like harsh feelings, and do this quick and just like don't think about it too much. So that was the approach of the project.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Eric is indeed a very acknowledged scriptwriter in Canada, very well known. So you have really tremendous experience when it comes to writing.
To writing, yes.
But what about,
directing, no.
Well, you do have a short film
yes.
that you directed prior to this one that was also not only screened but awarded in Locarno a few years back. That was also maybe a personally inspired story,
not that much. It was still a movie about intimacy. It was about a couple in love, but it was a short film about a couple who's trying to have a baby, and they have a hard time to conceive. And so we follow the relationship through their attempt at having a baby. So that was the pitch, but that was not personal because I didn't went through that process. Like my kid, it took one attempt, and my girlfriend got pregnant. So that was absolutely not the case with us. But I had some friends it was a bit tougher for them. Some of them like tried for like 5 years, and then they just stopped because it was like putting their couple at risk, because it's hard, and it's something that people don't talk about too much. So it was the same. Like it was not that personal, but it came from personal.
But our generational experience, like
but that was the first time I was directing the short film in a while. Like I really put focus in my career on screenwriting for a long time. And then I tried to go back to directing for this short film, and it had some success. So I was really happy about it, and I think it gave me the confidence to do the feature film. But like the confidence was like right now. Like I have the confidence now, and maybe in 2 years that won't be the case. So that's why I wanted to go fast also, because I have some anxiety issues, so when the anxiety comes in, you're like, okay, no, I'm not going to do the movie. But at that point, I was like, okay, I can do a movie if I do it now.
Yeah, and you have written very different films, like both mainstream, big-budget films and art house. So focusing on the writing process for this one, what were the challenges of this script specifically? Were there any, or maybe...
In fact, it was me and my co-writer. We've been writing together for like 15 years, so we know each other. We have the same brain, and like really in tunes with what we want to do. So for this one, I think we just like put aside, like I said, like the intellectual stuff, and just like, hey, let's have fun, and let's write a fun script and just do it quick. And so we were just bouncing ideas and having beers and just talking about it. And so it was not so much hard process, but like making it was a bit harder, like because then we had ambitions, and then the script was getting a bit... Like it was supposed to, at the beginning, we were like writing it to be a low budget film, but then we wrote those scenes where there was a lot of extras, a lot of naked extras, a lot of situation where like, okay, we need a budget now. We can shoot it with like $10,000. So it grew up because we had fun in the process, and then we we bring it to the producer, and he was like, "Oh, this is supposed to be like a low budget film." And we're like, "Yeah, and mostly it's bedrooms, but yeah, there's orgies too, so we're gonna have to deal with it." So yeah, the process of writing was just like me shutting off my brain and just having fun with my friend and writing a script that we thought was cool.
Yeah, without spoiling too much, can you tell us about the structure of the film, how it's chaptered?
Well, when we did some research about like non-monogamy and polyamory and all that, we just came up with a lot of a type of model of non-monogamy, and so the idea was like to make the movies in chapters about like a type of non-monogamous relationship, and so we come up with all that vocabulary about it, but we thought it was just funny to put like a few chapters that would reflect the state where the couple were in their process, because we didn't know too much about non-monogamy, and we didn't want to look like the guy we know about it and we're going to make a movie about it. So the approach was really naive, because for us that's the only way for it to be real and for it to be honest. So that's why it's about a couple who's dipping their toe into this type of relationship. And for us, that felt real, because that was the case with us as writers. Like, we were just dipping our toe in this thing and learning about things. So this couple goes through the same thing. They're trying, and it's awkward and it's naive, and but they push through, and they're trying to give it some respect and say, like, we're gonna try for real and not like abandon at the first error or at the first missteps. So, and that was also the case as writers. So that was kind of fun to have this approach, because that way we could feel it was right. Yeah.
You mentioned there is a vocabulary in this world. Do you have like a favorite entry in this, a favorite word from this vocabulary?
I don't know.
Please enlighten us.
The people are good at giving names. Like, there was a type of polyamory that was like kitchen table polyamory, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because that means like you can chit chat with each other partner, and there's like a kitchen table relationship. So like you're having different partner, but you can have dinner with them and all that. So you knew about them. So I thought it was beautiful, like kitchen table polyamory. But
it also involves sexual.
Well, it involves everyone, like,
after the chatting.
But it depends. It depends of the relationship. Like, people can have like their own polycule and not fool around with the other people. So there's like thousands of way of experiencing it, and I think it's all personal to each other of how the non-monogamous relationship works, and that's like. I can talk about it for long, but that would be like... But like I said, and I also don't know that much about it, but it's really something personal, and everyone like sets rule and way of doing it, and that's like... And be respectful of how the other want to experience it, so that's it.
Were you consciously trying to get involved with the European industry? Because... I think maybe your co-writer was in Berlinale Talent, and you participated in... At some point he was, but maybe not in connection with this project. I don't know.
Was he? Oh, maybe the producer was, I think. No, we didn't have... We shot in Berlin. There was a part of the movie we shot in Berlin, but then like 2 shots of it ended up in the movie. We had to scrap
Which
whole...
part? Orgy stuff?
No. It was the part where I learned about BDSM in the film. So when I go to travel, and you haven't seen it, so you don't know. But there was a long scene where we're walking in Berlin and talking, and I thought it was a beautiful scene, but in the movie it didn't work that much. And so we used like there was a movie by Denis Côté. I don't know if you know Denis Côté. He's a kind of famous filmmaker from Quebec. He do a lot of festival, and he was there at the Berlinale this year. And it was the same producer. So we used kind of the money that the government gave us for traveling for this film to grab a ticket for us and go to with a small crew and a camera to shoot some stuff in Berlin that year. So that was like the most European collaboration we had. And we did also made a lab which called First Cut Lab that gave us some notes on the editing process. So
it's a European program with several satellite programs and workshops for people to work on their rough cuts. And you did have already some history with Locarno.
Yes, but I did have history. Yes, that's where the short film went, and I was on the fence. Like for me, it was a film that was to be like really just generous, like for the whole public, but still have an art house also aspect about it. So. For me, it was like important to be like in this festival with respect the craft and the art and all that, but also in Quebec it will have a big release. Like if it's a big film, which will be weird, but that like it's because I'm like you said, my work as a screenwriter made it that like. I can have a wide release in Quebec and like people will come, and the actress that's in the film is kind of well known in Quebec too. So I was like being on both sides of being like this public film and like but also this art house thing, and that sometimes I just end up in the middle and it pleases to nobody. But I'm kind of trying to catch that vibe of being like between them, and that's what I'm aiming for. But
And I want to ask you both the same question. How elaborate were your scripts? I mean, have you written it fully in a standard way with full dialogues and you followed it meticulously during shooting, or different approach?
I'll grab some water.
My scripts are very detailed in a way. I try to write in image and sound, so really describing what you see and what you hear. Sometimes in these scripts I also, a few precise moments, I also describe his inner world. This is maybe like you cannot do it in scripts, or maybe a rule you cannot, but I needed to do it sometimes. And then for me, filmmaking is always trying to have control over this imagination that you write on paper, but at the same time let this imagination collide with what's happening in front of the camera or behind the camera, outside of the frame that you imagined. And this is, I think, what we do every day when we put down a camera, place a camera at the right spot. Like how can it control your imagination, but how can you also be open for coincidences that you see? And I think working with non-professional actors, it also helps a lot. They undermine and sabotage maybe your desire to have control over everything, I think as a film director, most of the times you want to control a lot, but it can be also boring to look at somebody who is in total control the whole time. So yeah, it is very precise. All the dialogue is also written very precise, but the film that we made is in very strong dialect that I cannot totally speak. I understand it. So every day we're on the spot rewriting this dialogue in a way. I'm giving them an impulse of what the scene is about, but there is very little dialogue, to be fair. It's not a lot of speaking in your film, and the sound design is very... it has a strong presence, so it's actually not surprising that you already wrote about the sounds in the script, because it has such a big significance in your film language. The sound is from the very beginning in the tone and in the atmosphere in my imagination. What I like though about sound is with image you have to prepare a lot to have some control over your imagination. With sound you can go on a quest and you don't really know where it ends, You do it together with your sound designers, with your recorders, with your musicians. And I really like this, trying to search something that you don't know what it is really. So that's why it's there from the beginning, but it's changing a lot in the process. Yeah.
Eric, what about your approach in terms of details?
Yeah, I just want to jump off something you said. You said like you put something in a script and you don't know if it's like you can do that or not. And I think it's interesting because like I've been to a point where I also through schools and all that and learned that that was the way to write a screenplay. And then, but I started to just do what I wanted and not give a shit about what you can and cannot put in the script. So, and like in the script, we would put like jokes in the notes just for the reader, and it's not going to be in the film. It's just to give the tone of the film. That's it. And I think
help the reader and communicate what you want.
Because the first thing is to get the reader. Like a screenplay needs as few like. It needs to do few things, and the first thing it needs to do is to sell the project to someone, and that he feels what it's going to be like on the screen after that. So if you put like sounds and if you put images in that, I think it's super interesting because that's what you have in your mind, and you understand what's the project about. So all the thing about what should be in a script or not, I think it's foolish.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's a tool for me, also a tool of communication instead of a tool of creation, maybe.
Totally.
Yeah.
So for us, for the script we made, it was like a traditional script, like with what's going on in the script and dialogues, and it was classic. But like I said, some jokes in the notes for people who were reading it, and we followed mostly the script. But for some scenes, the movie there's two kids in the movie that plays the kids for the main character, and they're sisters in real life, and they work with a director I know. That's where I saw them in the short film that I saw from this director. And she told me that like the kids are good with a script, but they're better like at improv. So I was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. So when I started to work with the kids, like I put the script aside and was like, let's just do improv, and they nailed it. Like it was way better than what we wrote. So, but that's the only thing that was like getting away from the script. It's the scene with the kids that were mostly improvisation.
But both of you went through the experience where you presented your work in progress or rough cut. So how was that? How much did you change during those presentations based on the feedback of the experts?
You're talking about the script or the editing process?
No, the editing, because you were first cut, and I think you participated in Lazare work in progress. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So how was the feedback? How much did it affect your final decisions for story editing?
Well, it affected a lot. In fact, it's for myself. It was the first time directing a feature film, so it's another thing than like short film, and you don't want people to fall asleep on it, and so you need to conserve that energy through the film and all that. So I was really learning about how to do a feature film with the editor who had lots of experience, but then again, I asked some of my friends to come and see the rough cuts, and I had like feedbacks from them, but those were all people that knew me, and they knew my humor through the other films that I made and myself because they were my friend. And at one point it was like, what if someone from like, I don't know, Hungary come see the film and doesn't know shit about me? Will it find it funny? Will it be like touched? Will it be like... So that's when the idea came up to do this lab where you have professionals from all around the world give you feedback on your film, and I thought that was awesome. Like, it's fun to receive comments with people who are just looking the film, don't know you, and they don't care about you. It's like all about what's the film and what do I receive as someone who's watching it. And that was awesome, and well, that made it cut the whole part in Berlin. So, and like all the things, and just try to, I think they receive the movie sometimes as like, yeah, it took itself a bit